everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I am your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today we have a special guest, Kim Griffin. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Kim Griffin is a gifted evidential medium. She is based in North Carolina, and she's originally from New Jersey. Is that correct?
That is correct. You probably could tell from my accent. So I don't have a Southern accent. So there you go.
And Kim offers readings and she offers mediumship training. And right now, you are training mediums, aspiring mediums to become demonstrating mediums.
Correct. I have a workshop going on now. So right now it's very limited class, but I'll probably be doing another demonstration class coming up in January or February. I'm also going to start doing a development circle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to get that out as soon as possible. So it's a practice circle, but it's development. So there will be teaching behind it and also, teaching and coaching.
I love it. I will say I did join your mediumship demonstration course. I think it was like 2 years ago,
Was it
maybe a
2 years?
little bit longer.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, I was in your class because I really wanted to do demonstrating and I was in circles, but your focus was just demonstrating. I knew I wanted to do it. I was scared out of my mind, totally terrified. And then in that circle, well, I didn't meet Star Rodriguez. I met Star Rodriguez in a different course workshop we had done with Paul Jacobs. And then I
Mhm.
connected more with her in your course. And we have been doing demonstrations for over 2 years, once a month. So I am so grateful for your course because I love Star. She's just so incredible. But yeah, because of you, we do the demonstrations. And I do remember how, and I remember like that first time, but I was actually with Jenny from Canada because you put the Canadians together. So me and Jenny Duncan were together. And we're on Zoom, you're like, "It's okay, girls, you got it, you got it." And then I remember sitting there and the numbers going like 10, 20, 30, 40. I think it was like over 100 people were on that Zoom call or close to it. And my
Right.
heart was like, "Da-da, da-da." And Jenny, we're all like freaking out. But we did it. We did it. And you were like, "Yeah, you're gonna go up there and you're gonna do it." And you were incredible. I think for people that want to get out there and want to do for the first time and do like a lot because they're not other students. Like you just posted it on one of your Facebook groups
Right.
and you don't know who you get, but they were incredible. The people that did come, I will say that they were fantastic sitters. But yeah, I highly encourage take that course because I loved it and it just got us out there.
Yeah, that's why when I started doing the platform workshops, um, I would just limit the audience members to like maybe 20 people, 25 people. But then I decided one time that I wasn't going to limit it, and I wasn't going to tell the participants, the mediums, that it was going to be open. So what I did was I told them right before.
You did that to us. Oh
Did
my
I
God.
do that to you? Yeah, because in that way, yeah, because in that way, you didn't have time to think about it.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And yeah, I love when I get people from different areas, different countries, and whatnot. So yeah, that I think yeah, I had a lot of Canadians in your group, and then there was one group where I had two Australians. So that was fun too, and it also made the people, the Americans and the Canadians, kind of stretch their references and whatnot
Yeah.
to the Australians as well, and to learn about their customs and whatnot in their areas. So yeah.
No,
So
it was fantastic for people that are watching this and you're thinking about doing mediumship demonstration. I highly recommend it because it was fun and you didn't stress us out. You're just like, you got this. It's your dam. get out there, do it, and then you had the fun music, because I still don't know how to do that techie stuff, but you had the music, like, we could pick our own music and just get the crowd hyped, and it was just like it was, an incredible first time experience doing a dem with so many people, and it was outside of the classroom, so yeah, so I'm so grateful for that opportunity with you, so I wanna say thank you to you for that, because that was fun.
Well, thank you. And my objection there is to really kind of make it fun. And I know that we're dealing with grief and we're dealing with people that are really, really striving to connect with their loved ones. But for the mediums, I wanted to make it, and I still want to make it non-stressful, because it should be non-stressful, where you don't have all these rules and regulations. Do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. It should be relaxed, because when you're relaxed is when you connect more, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have all that pressure of doing it this way, doing this way. Oh, play some funky music, do this, do that. Don't worry about it. Yeah. And then the really neat thing is the fact that when I do these platform demonstration workshops, is that, like with you and Star, it allows people to network and connect with other people, and to develop friendships, and to kind of take it outside of the classroom and do their own dems. Because now I have a bunch of other students that do the live dems, and they give them away. Like you and Star, you give it away, and it's free, and it's once a month. It's not like, you're doing it all the time for free, because I don't really encourage giving it away all that much. But, just to let people know what a demonstration is like, and, what mediumship looks like as well in a group format. And like I said, I have all these group of women that now are developing this friendship, and they're doing their free demonstrations once a month or twice a month. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's an amazing opportunity. So again, highly encouraged. Check out Kim Griffin's website, which is kimgriffinmedium.com. So go on over there or find her on Facebook, message her, email her. And then you just, because I was on your website, so you do post the classes that are coming up, because you have this
Nice.
demonstration that started yesterday. Yes.
Started yesterday. Oh, you do your research. Yes, it started yesterday. So a little too late for that, but I will be posting the development coaching circles probably sometime this week. And I'll probably start that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's a great opportunity.
look for that.
So, Kim, what got you interested in becoming a medium? Why mediumship?
I was not drawn to it. I was not drawn to it at all. So what happened, and I'd like to say that I started when I was young. I didn't start when I was young. I didn't have the experience that some people have, where they were talking to grandma since they were 4 years old or whatever. It did not happen that way for me. I only had a couple experiences when I was younger. Um, and yes, young children are very pure, and they're very attracted to the other side. The other side is attracted to them. So what I mean is, I wasn't drawn to it. It was drawn to me, in a sense where I didn't want this. Like, this is something I did not want. I did not expect in my life. Um, so what had happened was, I hear a lot of people say that through trauma, I guess they are drawn to, or it is drawn to them through trauma. And it was a pretty rough childhood. And what I mean by that is that my father was a raging alcoholic, so the family unit was kind of a little shaken by all of that, and yeah. So and with that, I had my own bouts with the bottle and drugs and whatnot. My parents had passed when I was in my 20s. So the grief was kind of hit, not at a teenage years, not at a young year, but pretty young, where, yeah, between the grief, between the battle with the bottle, with a divorce, with everything that came at a very close proximity. It all happened all at one time, and it really was very, very challenging for me. and where I did not have a belief in God, even though I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic church and Catholic school and all that stuff. But there wasn't a lot of belief there. I was just felt like God kind of abandoned me,
Yeah.
like I was laying on a limb. And, I just figured I pissed him off. And there I am hanging and whatnot. So with that, I was getting experiences and whatnot in feelings of the other side. And so things were happening. And I will say this, because my father's alcoholism and whatnot, I was having experiences when I was younger, but I don't think it had anything to do with the spirit world. I think it had to do with manifestation of my own mind, because I remember scary things happening to me, when I was falling asleep in my twilight and feeling like things were underneath my bed, things were in the closet, and actually having dreams and whatnot. And it's very, very scary dreams, thinking that there's demonic presence and stuff like that. And I don't believe in any of that. But when you're young, you don't understand it. So if you see somebody that puts a word on it, you automatically attach yourself to that. Like, oh, it has to be the devil, because what else could it be? And you don't have the verbiage and you can't articulate your fears and your anger about certain things. Because it's funny, because when my dad had left the family when I was 14 years old, it stopped. And I did not put that together until I was much older. And I could understand it was a manifestation of my own mind, of my own fears that were kind of circling me as well. And that's the only way that I could express it, is through that. But what I will say also, if I kind of fast forward all the events, is that I remember I was married to my first husband, and we moved into a house. And I'm not going to say the house was haunted, but there were experiences that I had. I won't bore you with the experiences, and they weren't bad experiences. Um, they were actually kind of fun experiences. And the fast story I will tell you is that me and my ex-husband were, I don't want to say we're fighting. We were just arguing in bed, just, yeah, nothing like, it wasn't real aggressive or anything, just an argument. And all of a sudden, we heard a bang in the kitchen. And we're like, what the hell happened? And our kitchen was right next to a door. So I thought somebody broke in. But as we go into the kitchen, the booster seat for my child was out in the middle of the floor. And my ex-husband always said that the house was with spirits. And I was like, you're so full of shit. There's no spirits here, because I was a non-believer.
Yeah.
And but when we went into the kitchen, the thing was rocking. It was in the middle of the floor. And I did have a habit of, I try to keep things nice and tidy. I still try to, but everything was tucked in. The chairs were tucked in. So it was just strange. And I said, you have to call the cops. You have to call the police because somebody broke into the house. But he's like, there's no place for them to go. Like, where would they go? And I'm like, you got to call the police. And he's like, what am I going to say? The house is haunted? Like, what am I going to say? Like, yeah, now we're arguing again about this. And all of a sudden, we look in the hallway and we had these hangers on this one shelf with our coats and stuff, and they all came down. And I went, oh my God. So I was like, oh my God. So I called up the landlord the next day. She goes, oh, you met Tony. Like, and I know her husband was Tony, and I met him. I knew Tony, and I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, Tony's in the house. I'm like, what? So there was a big conversation about that and whatnot. And so it was a few months after that I had a premonition of my mother passing, and then she had passed actually a month later. And when I called her up and I told her about the premonition, and again, I won't go into all that, but I will tell you that in my dream, when I had this premonition of her passing, everything in the dream came true in life. All the circumstances, all the small little details, even what the doctors had said were exactly what they said in life. And yeah, so I was like, and when I told because I called my mother and I told her, I said, I had a dream that you were going to die. And she says to me, "Don't tell me this." I'm like, "Okay," you know. And she passed a month later, or I should say, she got sick. She was in a coma. She had an aneurysm a month later, and then she died 6 weeks later. So yeah, so that was that. And then I went on with my life, and I was very much heartbroken about everything. My marriage collapsed. I hit the bottle. Both parents are dead. Somebody had said to me, "Oh, now you're an orphan." I'm like, "Yeah, I need all that on top of it." And I felt very, 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 very alone, like very alone. So it was darkest period of my life. It was the darkest period of my life. I remember going to a psychic, and again, I didn't believe in any of that, but my ex-husband did. So he went to some guy, and I went to the guy. He was very good. And then somebody else told me, "Oh, you should try this psychic." So I went to her, and she was just out of this world. Like, she names everything. She told me right off the bat, I don't do mediumship, because I think she had a feeling that I wanted her to bring through my parents, and she goes, "I don't do mediumship. I do psychic." But everything that she said was just so on point, to the point where she described my second husband, which I did not know at the time. She described him to a T. His name, the car that he drove, so what he looked like, everything. She described the circumstances that I was going to be in, courtroom with police. I was just like, what? Oh yeah. And yeah, because at that time I got my second DWI. This was after I saw the psychic. And yeah, and so and she didn't say AA, but she even mentioned, "You will be around a bunch of people in a circle and you will be praying." I'm like, "Yeah, don't pray." Don't pray. And so, at that particular time, I thought she was foolish when she was talking about that. But she said, "Keep the paper and start marking it off." So I did. So I kept the paper and I marked it off as it went. And then she had the one thing that she did say to me as I was leaving. She said to me, she yelled out. She was a small little lady. She was 80 years old at the time. She has passed now, but she yelled out, "Janet!" And I went, "Janet?" And that name I did not know. And she said she's going to be your mentor. Okay. I didn't even know what that meant. I mean, I knew what it meant, but I'm like, I was a bartender. I was a server. I worked in the restaurant business for 30 years. So I'm like, I don't know who's going to mentor me. I don't know what that's about. So anyhow, fast forward to like in the mid 2000s or whatever it was, I'm in the journey within, and I've been doing mediumship for a while, right? And I'm in front of Janet Nohavec, and I've known her for like 2 years already. And all of a sudden I went, "Oh, okay, I get it now." So sometimes it takes a while. It takes 20 years to really get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was, my experience. But I think the one that really kind of cracked me open was when I was in an AA meeting, and I was sober already for about 10 years. And all of a sudden, if somebody's speaking, and they call them speaking commitments, when somebody comes in and they tell their story about their drinking story and the recovery and et cetera, et cetera. So, the last thing in my mind was the spirit world or my mother coming to me. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the story, and all of a sudden, and I can't even explain it to this day, but in my mind's eye, it just came it was just like, and I could smell my mother. I could smell the hospital. I could hear the beeping of the monitors and whatnot. I could see her in bed. I could smell her funeral flowers. And I look at my arms and my hairs are all like raised up. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I was just like shooken up. I was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, mm. So after the meeting, I went to go clean out the coffee pots, because that's what you do in AA meetings. You clean out the coffee pots. So I was cleaning out the coffee pots, and somebody said to me, "Kim," I was like, "You okay? It looks like you saw a ghost." I'm like, "Yeah, matter of fact." And I said, "I think my mother came to me." And I'm like, "Really?" well, are you drinking again? I'm like, no, I'm not drinking again. But I said, I think my mother, I believe my mother came to me. Also, I said, somebody's going to die tomorrow. And that just kind of flew out of my mouth. That wasn't anything planned. It was just like, I wasn't in control of the words. It was just like, somebody's going to die tomorrow. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, and they like ran up the stairs. And my mother-in-law, which my mother never met, she died the next day.
Did you know who it was? Or no, you had no clue when you said that?
I had no clue when I said that. I had no clue. I had no clue whatsoever. But I know that we got a phone call in the middle of the night, or it was early morning, that my husband, that his mother had a heart attack. She had a massive heart attack, and that she was in, not like we lived in New Jersey, so she was in Hackensack, or she was up in North Jersey, and they were in the hospital, and she was on life support. And it was just strange now that I think about it, because my mother was on life support as well. And so Joni, my mother-in-law, she was on life support. And then they had to make a decision and whatnot. So yeah, so she died that morning. Yeah. And yeah, I had no idea. No idea.
You know what I find interesting about that is a lot of mediums will say that. They will have dreams of loved one or family members, and then the next day they pass away or a few weeks later, but it's almost like spirits like, heads up, get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the funny thing is that every time I have a dream that I can remember, I'm like, oh boy. But yeah, it's not always true. For me, it's not always true. I don't want to panic anyone to think that, if they have a dream that is disturbing, that it's going to come true, but it's just a feeling on top of that. Sometimes we just have dreams because of our subconscious, and sometimes dreams because, like you said, the spirit world is warning us about something, or just, not they're warning, but just being aware of this is a situation that could happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had mentioned the late Janet Nohavec. Yes. Can you tell me what it was like to study with her?
Well, I will tell you, the beginning of my training, because I had mentioned before I was a bartender. So I will tell you that this all started to happen, and probably in my early 40s or late 30s, early 40s, it started to kind of go like this. And so I was practicing on people, and I don't even know how it became. But I was reading people at the bar. And I don't suggest that to people. That is not a good idea to do that. But then it just came a thing where people were asking me about certain things, and I was like, let me see. And then I started to kind of bring through their loved ones. And I didn't even know I could do that. It just started to happen that way. And I was bringing it in detail, which I wouldn't know. And so people would visit me at the bar, and I'd be like, we got to go on the download because my boss doesn't know I do this, So it'd be like mixing a drink and something. Again, not a suggestion to do that. And then one of my friends had told me, well, you really should go to this woman that was in the town next to us. And she does development circles. And I won't bring you through all that, but I was with her for like 2 years or something like that, maybe a year and a half, and decided that I needed to go to someplace else. Uh, and there's a story behind that. But anyhow, so I did go up to I was looking, somebody had mentioned, another medium that I had trusted actually said, well, you should go to Janet Nohavec, look her up. She's in New Jersey. So I did, and it was 45 minutes away. And I'm like, I don't know if I really want to travel that far and blah, blah, blah. But it was a straight shot. So as you just go straight on the highway and you make a turn off, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I did. I go up, I went up and I visited a church just to see what it was like. And she came out and I said, oh, you're the nun. And she's like, looking at me, she's like, yeah, I'm the nun. What about it, And she goes, you can look around and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I just got a good vibe off of it. And then I decided to I dropped the class that I was at for about a year and a half or so. And I decided that I was going to take classes up there. And this is woman, Sharon Subis. And she was really great. She was really, really, really good. So I took classes with her at the Journey Within, and then we had like a summer hiatus. And then Janet did a workshop, a weekend workshop. And so I went to the weekend workshop. And then she had offered that people went to the weekend workshop that she was going to start Monday nights. She was going to start a class. It would be an hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever it was. And it'd be every Monday night and it'd be $20. And that's the way it was, you know. I did it. I started it, and she was great. She was great. She was the word strict is probably the wrong word. She was not strict, but she was very defined on what she wanted from the mediums as well. And she didn't let any, excuse my language, she didn't let any BS pass her by. So if she felt that you were doing it for your ego, or if she felt that you weren't ready for the class, she let you know. She wasn't somebody that coddled you. She wasn't somebody that would just, even if she thought you did great, she did good job. That's it. You didn't get a pat on the back. You didn't get like, oh my God, you're mind blowing. No. So if you got a good job, like if you just got, yeah, it was good and walked away, that was actually very good for her. So she, like I said, she wasn't somebody that would coddle you. She wasn't somebody that would flower you with compliments or anything like that. And that's okay by me.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Jersey.
Yeah.
We just don't do that. It's just like, you know so some people felt that she needed to be more so, she needed to be more complimentary, she needed to be more coddling. But now that I am in the teaching mode for the last 10 years or so, that really does a harm to the mediums rather than anything beneficial, I feel, because what happens is, if you coddle them and you let them know that, oh, that was a great job, when in fact it might have been a mediocre job, they're not stretching themselves. They're not throwing themselves over the line to be a better medium. They're not stretching. They're not going out of the bounds, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I will
Does that
say I love every mentor I've ever had has always pushed me.
right?
I like it. I like getting pushed outside my comfort zone because that's where you learn. That's where
Yeah.
it's scary, but you're learning.
Yeah, and she was and she encouraged people, I mean, she was very, very encouraging. When she felt you were ready, and but she would encourage people to do platform, and she would say to people, some people are good for platform, some people rather do private reads, and that's fine too, but try it out. Try it before you decline it. So she would when you were ready, and you did some platform in practice or in the workshops and whatnot, she would say, why don't you go up there and do the service on Sunday? And you'd be like, no. And she's like, you're okay, you could do it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just have fun with it. They don't take the info. That's what she'd be like. They don't take the information. Just have fun with it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
That's just the way she was. She didn't really put any pressure on you as far as, when you're going up there for the service on Sundays, So there was a real kind of, there was a trust there, and you knew that you weren't going to fall no matter what. And even if you didn't land it right away, she would just say, "Ah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. So you didn't do good this time." She'd tell you, "So what? You didn't land it. So what? Big deal. You know what?
yeah,
Somebody out there will, they'll figure it out." So she would just kind of brush it off and, "Don't worry about it. You'll be fine." So again, there wasn't really any pressure on, any pressure that you felt, it came from yourself.
that's
But
true.
yeah, she
That's so
would.
true. We're the hardest on ourselves. I know I
Oh,
am.
absolutely.
Sometimes I'm like, it's my teachers, and then I think about, no, it's not. It's me. They didn't say that. I said that.
yeah, yeah. We put the pressures on ourselves, and that's our own ego getting in the way. And that's what I try to encourage people. that are my students that, just bear witness to what's happening. I always kind of, and I probably I say it to all my classes, you're
Yes.
just UPS deliveries delivery
Yes.
person for the spirit world, because the UPS driver is not coming back and asking you if you like your new shoes, you like your new blouse, you like your new vacuum cleaner. They're not doing that. So,
Yeah.
you're just bearing witness. Take yourself out of the reading. And I try not to put myself in the reading, meaning like, I think I feel, sometimes I would say, I think I feel a sense, but I try to extract myself as much as possible, saying things like they are presenting, they are acknowledging, they are communicating. It's all about them. So I try to like take myself out when I
Yeah.
can. It's hard though. Sometimes say the words, I sense, I feel, I know,
Yeah.
you know. But Janet, you would also, she would bring people from Arthur Finley. So the people would do workshops, weekend workshops or week workshops. And I still think they do that. I think Joe Shields, who is the pastor now of the church, he does that too. They do that. And that's all under, what Janet did. They just followed her lead. That's all they follow her lead, what she did. And she would bring in people like Tony Stockwell. She would bring in John Holland, who is from Massachusetts. She would bring in other tutors from Arthur Finley to come over to teach and whatnot. And a lot of them follow the Arthur Finley.
Yeah.
A lot of them from that college, or they follow the Spiritualist National Union. So things of that nature as well. So she was very, very encouraging, without being somebody that she was not soft. She just was not soft, but in a good way,
Yeah.
in a good way. She didn't put up with any crap, is what I want to say.
So it sounds like you learned a lot from her, which I
Yeah,
love.
I did. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Do I consider myself a spiritualist? No. I don't have a spiritualist church down here in North Carolina. She always said, "You'll do one. You'll make it." I'm like, and I'm not interested in doing that. That's not my focus. My focus is, giving readings and teaching. Teaching is a big thing that I do. That's probably my main focus right now, is teaching. Though I do a lot of readings and whatnot as well. But yeah,
I will say
I rather.
this, uh, just from my own experience with you, because I don't remember if it was 2, 3 years ago that we did um, the demonstration, the mediumship demonstration with you, but you did not hold our hands. You were like, and push, go. You'll be okay. You will survive. And then at the end, when it was over, it's like, how do you feel? We're like, we did it. Like you encouraged us, but you didn't, which I love because I don't want anybody to hold my hand either. It's like I want to go out there and I want to try and figure out how to do the demonstration. If I gotta know, I gotta figure out why I gotta know and work with it. And you just let us be. It's like you guys, you ladies got it. You'll figure it out. Inside
Yeah,
we're freaking out, but on the outside, we even look at you, it's like, well, Kim looks okay on the screen, so it must be okay. Keep going.
well, it's like my kids. When my kids, when they were growing up, they were in college and they got in trouble for whatever. Maybe they got fired from a job, or I'm not saying my kids ever got fired from a job. They probably did, but or there was problems with the car, and they're like, "Mommy, I need money." I'm like, you know what? You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm not giving you money for that. I got this stuff to do. So you're going to figure it out. You're going to get overtime from work and you're going to figure it out, but it I don't want to say I'm off with mediumship or anything, but it's a kind of the same thing, when people get a little overloaded with their mediumship. I'm like, you know what, you're going to figure it, I try to give people the tools to figure it out. To
yeah,
figure it
yes,
out. I give you the tools. Okay, you could, and that's the thing when I'm doing the workshop demonstration, is like afterwards we go through everything and we'll say, well, you know what? Here is my feedback. Here are your
yes,
tools that you can use. It's up to you whether you want to use those tools or not, because some of the suggestions may not work for people. So I don't like to say there's have tos, but
yeah,
there are just suggestions.
yeah. I thought it was perfect. I had lots of fun, and you get to spread your wings and try something new, and it felt like a safe space for myself,
Yeah.
because I can only speak to my experience. I had lots of fun. I do want to talk about, you have a YouTube channel called the Mediumship Reading Room with Jen Shepherd. So can you tell our listeners what is that all about? How did that come together with Jen?
We haven't done a video in a while, so I do have to get on Jen, and we have to get together and do another video. But we have several videos out, and it's called, like
Yes.
you said, it's called the Mediumship Reading Room. And we kind of get together, and sometimes they're 10 minutes long, sometimes they're 15 minutes long. We have one or two that is very long, but we discuss different topics. We had one that I clicked on that was microwave mediumship. Microwaving talents, and make it quick. It's really just about people that just get into this without really any knowledge of how spirit works, and just kind of take off from there. And I'm not saying there's not natural mediums. There are natural mediums, and especially if you've been doing it for a while, if you've been doing it since you were a child or since you were a teenager, um, or even if you've been doing it for, a decade or two, that's great. If it doesn't mean that you have to go to classes, but it's always suggested to hone your ability. So we talk about that. There's practice and development. We talk if that's another subject. Another subject is fear, ghosts, spirits, and rituals. So that's another one. So some of them can be a little bit, what I like to say, controversial, but it makes people think. And so we talk about portals, entities, and attachments, considerations and interpretations. That doesn't mean we believe in portals and entities and attachments. That is quite the opposite. So, and then what is our process, as far as there's another subject about what is your process? I'll just go through a couple of them. Responsibilities of the sitter, honoring perspectives, finding the message. Why didn't I hear from a communicator I wanted? There's a bunch of different ones. Student expectations, finding the right teacher. So again, it's really different subject matters that we discuss in a 20-minute period. And it's both of our perspectives on that. So it's interesting, we don't have a lot, I think there's been viewers, there's one subject matter, there's like 500 views, but some of them are 70 views. But I think also because we really haven't, we put it on the mediumship reading room, but we got to do a few more videos to get them, you know.
So what inspired you to start that YouTube channel with Jen?
Well, because there were a lot of questions about getting the right teacher,
Mhm.
taking the right classes. What is our view on entities or evil spirits? And I want people to also understand this is just our perspective. This is just our belief system. It doesn't mean that if somebody has an opposite view of that, it doesn't mean that their view is wrong. It just means, that we have a different perspective on it. So, and it also allows people in the terms of, attachments or something, to kind of look at it a different way, because what happens also, and I know I'm getting into a subject matter, but it also, some people, you know, will look at the commercial value of it, meaning that they look at TV or the movies, and what their perspective, what that producer or that director, what whoever writes that, they think it's fact. You know, when
Right.
you review it, it's just a TV show. It's just a movie. It's just somebody's belief system. It doesn't mean it's true, and again, there was just a lot of questions in the mediumship reading room that we figured, you know what, let's do a video, let's do it on YouTube. That way it's there for, the mediumship reading room, but it's also there for the public as well, if they have any type of questions about anything. And we do encourage people to get in touch with us to say, hey, could you do a video on this? Could you do a video on that? So we can discuss it between ourselves and put it out there. And there have been some comments where they totally disagree with us. We honor that. That's fine.
Yeah.
as long as it's not rude and
Yeah.
there's no, obscenities or anything like that. We're good with that. That's fine.
I
So,
think it's good
um,
to put the information out and then everybody just draw from your own experiences and decide what your truth is. But I don't think there's like a right and wrong because everybody's got different experiences. But I love that you and Jen do that. And it's like, well, now you get to decide. Do you agree? Don't you agree? That makes us think, and it's good to have a little bit of skepticism in mediumship, I think, anyways.
oh yeah, absolutely. And it's good because me and Jen, we get along so well because we are polar opposites.
Yeah.
I am mostly off the hip. I'm very kind of like you see baseball cap and this t-shirt and that's that. And Jen is very kind of, I would like to say proper, very articulate. She studies the philosophy of mediumship. So you're getting a lot of different, the scientific, the philosophy behind it, and then you're getting kind of like the layperson's view, you know, the
It's all
blue collar
good.
view of it all. So it's kind of fun, and it works very well together, and it works well together in the mediumship reading room where we have that group, which is a Facebook group, as you know, and because again. We haven't been real active with it lately. We have to start getting more active with it, but she could have put a different perspective on certain things that people bring, and I can put a certain perspective, whereas, she'll say like, Kim, we really shouldn't have that person posting that because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I got to find out what my motivation is for allowing that to be on there. Is it because I do want more viewers, or is it because I believe in it, or what's the deal with that? And then there's other things that are challenging where I'm okay with confronting it, where Jen would be like a little bit more, softer with it. And she'd be like, yeah, you handle that because you're pretty good with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
I like that.
that's
That's
good.
perfect. It's perfect. You need the opposites. And then I'm thinking about myself, like, I don't know, my Portuguese side is off the hip, off the cuff. And then my Canadian side is like very polite and proper. And then it's
Right.
like, well, what do I feel like today? What do I feel like showing?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. I've been here for North Carolina for about 10 years now. So I have again, I have the split thing with bless your heart. And I should just go with bless your heart.
Bless
Um,
your heart's better. I have a question because on your website, you have a blog and it is called What is a Certification in Mediumship? Because I know that's a big question. I'll hear people be like, I got a certificate, a piece of paper. I am now an official medium. I did a 4-week course. And I'm like, what?
yeah.
So, yes.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So you're going to get some courses that will give you a certificate in mediumship. Now, I know that there is some people that I really, really respect that they'll tell me, I just do it because it feels like they accomplished something. So I'll give them a certificate because of that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are, they should go out there and put their shingle on it, but it does allow them to feel like they completed a course. So I get that. But there is a majority that, people will, put out there. You get a certification in mediumship, and now you're a medium. And just because somebody gets a certification doesn't mean that they are kind of ready to go out there and really put their shingle up, or really kind of. And I do believe in a lot of times that you need to kind of wait and to understand the energy of spirit, and to put it's okay. I tell people this all the time. I practiced for 3 or 4 years without charging people, and I take that back because I think maybe in the fourth year I charged very little, like $40.
Mhm.
And this is like before the, Facebook or anything, where I would have people come over to the house, and I wouldn't charge them. So I encourage people to do that, to do face to face or do to Zoom, to practice, 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 practice. And that's one thing that Janet Nohavec always instilled in us: practice as much as you possibly can. And then when you feel comfortable, when you've been doing it for a while, then put a little price tag on there, because then what happens is when you rush the process, you're gonna, you you might get let down a little bit. You might get let down, and you might be in a position where you haven't experienced a certain situation where it's a paid reading, and
Yeah.
so where when you're practicing, you're able to and you're practicing a lot. And I don't mean just, 6 months doing lots of reading. I mean years,
Yeah.
because you'll be able to handle a grieving mother that a son has suicide, or a grieving mother who a daughter has been. And I know this is harsh, but you're going to get people like this where they were raped, they were murdered. If you have only been doing this for a short period of time and you kind of rush into it, you know, then it's hard to understand, and you're getting paid for it. It's hard to understand how to handle situations like that. But when you're practicing, it gives you a leeway to say to the sitter, I haven't done this in a long time and I'm practicing. I don't know how to deal with this. Being honest with your sitters is really, really imperative to let them know what stages you are in your development as well. So I even forget what the question was now. So,
The question was, certification
oh,
within
certification.
mediumship because you have a
Yeah.
blog on your website. But just to the comment that you said, I think it's important for us to be ready. And even when you're ready, I find too, something may come up within your mediumship that you've never experienced. It's never been a part of your life.
Right,
And
exactly.
it could be something challenging, but also being honest with the sitter, especially if you're charging, it's like, okay, I've never had this experience. So let me just go through it, like break it down for you. But I'm a big believer in education. Like I've been studying with mentors. I think I'll study forever, but educating yourself and taking courses and
Right.
learning about trauma, learning about grief, because there's a lot, like you mentioned, there's a lot of different types of grief out there. And I know, don't you
Right.
do something with grief too?
Well, Jen Shepherd does something with grief.
Okay.
But I just want to add also with the certification, because I went in a different I went to a different rant. But just because you don't get a certification in mediumship doesn't mean you're not a medium. So I don't want people to think that you need to have a piece of paper that says that you're a medium. So I think that was my point with the post, with the blog, and I have to update
Okay.
it too. No, Jen Shepherd does a lot with grief. She does a lot with grief. I do believe that I have. I don't think and my old website I had resources about grief as well. In one of my classes, and people were not crazy about this, but when I do a regular class, I don't do it for the demonstration class because the demonstration class is really about demonstrations. But in one of my advanced classes, I did talk about grief and went through grief, and also talked to the students, and had them write a paper about their own grief, to have them understand, what it's like when you get somebody that's coming to you, that's in their deep grief. I always suggest to people that, and I suggest to my students, and again, it's just a suggestion, to wait until the person has passed about 6 months for the sitter to come to you. Because I've had people come to me. Sometimes it can't be helped. Sometimes you know, they just, they make an appointment with you and they don't tell you, and they tell you at that time. Or if you're at a venue, whether it's a psychic fair, or whether you're doing readings, mediumship readings at a different venue, and they come up to you and they say, and then later on they'll say, well, they just passed a week ago. Sometimes
Yeah.
that can't be helped. But sometimes people will tell you, well, they just passed a week ago. And I will tell them, well, you know what? Maybe you need to wait about 3 or 4, 5 months, because they can't come through. They can come through in a moment's notice. But and I do believe that sometimes they don't come through, because not because they can't come through, but because they know that you're so wrapped up in the grief. But also I like people to wait because they are so wrapped up in the grief.
Yeah.
So that's another thing as well. So
I know for myself, after with my own grief after my aunt passed away. I think I was in a circle like 2 days after her funeral. She came through and it was a beautiful reading, but I do remember when the medium was bringing up details, my mind, I no longer heard the medium and I went to that memory, and then the
Yeah.
medium said a bunch of other things. I don't know what she said. It was probably fantastic. And then I came back and then I heard some more and she brought up another beautiful memory. And then my mind went back to that memory and I couldn't hear the medium. So I remember for myself, my own experience, I was in and out of the reading. Not that it was good or bad, it was kind of cool. But now when I look back at where each
Mm.
time she's come through, because she was like a second mom to me. So each time she's come through, where it was within that first month, where it was like 6 months later, where it was a year later, I could
Mm.
hear more. I was more present because I wasn't in the sadness and getting pulled out. But I do remember the first couple months receiving readings in practice circles, and I was in and out. And you just
Yeah.
it's just your mind does that because like, "Oh, the memory of Christmas," and off my and the medium's still talking. Have no idea what she's saying for the next 10 minutes because now my mind is in that memory with my aunt. So I
Yeah.
find that super interesting how our mind does that with grief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I had an experience when I was conducting it was just a regular circle, a practice circle, but I had to stop the medium because um, it was something. I can't really say who it was, but it was a family member, and the family member died of very, 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 very tragic circumstances, and so the medium was really hyper focused on that particular um, circumstances in that situation. I mean, she brought me right in the room. It was very detailed,
Yeah.
very, very detailed, very good as far as technicality is concerned. But I had told her, you need to step away from that. You need to step away from that harsh environment and tell me something about him, And she goes, well, he just keeps on, and she kept on going. I finally had to say to her, you need to stop the reading. You need to stop. Yeah, but I was like, first of all, I am the sitter and it's hurting me. I can't deal with this right now. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's it." But the thing also was she was so focused on how good it was that she forgot about her sitter. And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, "Your ego is getting in the way here because
Yeah.
I'm getting disturbed by it. And you need to kind of focus in what my needs are right now
Yeah.
because it's hurting me." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." And she was a very nice lady, and
Yeah.
then, it was a lesson for her and it was a lesson for me as well as being a sitter, that, sometimes, you can put boundaries up with the medium. Also, the medium can put boundaries up with the sitter, but that's a different discussion.
Yes. But now we're going back to training. That's why training's so important, I feel anyways.
Exactly.
And because we're in the circles, in the training circles, that's a safe space where we make our mistakes. And then we know not to do that when we're doing paid readings and we're in public.
Right.
That's my opinion of why I go to circles because it's safe. It's where you make your mistakes.
Well,
And you
I'm
learn.
just trying to put the lighter better. Somebody said I need a ring light. Yeah, we're sorry.
Oh,
And
fabulous.
I mean, I've been doing this for like 17 years. I still go to practice circles. I still go because you could always improve on something. Or, maybe I need to kind of stretch myself. Maybe there was a personal problem in my own life and I kind of, let's say, kind of block ourselves from some emotion and stuff like that. And I need to kind of break through that. Not that spirit has left me or anything, and all has to do with me, So yeah, or maybe I just want to practice names.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know?
So, uh, I have enjoyed our time together as we're coming to the end of our interview. So, my last question for you, Kim, is for people that are brand new to mediumship, what would you recommend that they do? They know they have the ability, but they're kind of overwhelmed and they don't know what their first step should be.
I would say to do your research on different tutors, different teachers, different mentorships and whatnot. Also, books. You know, there's a lot of great books out there as well. You have to use your own discernment though, because if it doesn't sound right to you, even if you get that ick feeling, like, trust your ick feeling.
Yes.
That's my biggest suggestion. Trust your ick feeling, you know? So, yeah, there's a lot of great Facebook groups out there as well. Colleen Byram has one, Evidential Mediumship. We have the Mediumship Reading Room. And there's a lot of, great other groups out there. But again, it's really about using your own discernment about certain things as well.
Yeah.
So, use your ick calibrator. That's my
I like that. Trust your gut, trust your feeling. If
right,
it doesn't feel right, I
right.
think I love that. And then one of the things I always like to add, probably because it's the way I work, is if you're learning from a mentor or a tutor for so long and then it doesn't feel right, it's okay to change. Because I feel like some people think, no, I have to stay there for 5 years, 10 years. Like, no, it's okay to go learn from somebody else, okay to learn from multiple tutors. There's no rule to stay with
There's no
one person.
rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, trust me. I mean, there are plenty of people that, like, there are times where, even with my own development, where I was like, yeah, I don't know. You like, the woman, I won't mention it, she has passed, so, but I still, where I just needed to step away from that. It was a lot of ego and it was very money oriented, and I needed to step away from that. And so that's when I went to the journey within. But even, with the different workshops and stuff that people that Janet would bring in, there were certain mentors or certain tutors that I gravitated towards rather than others. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that I was just attracted to that. The chemistry was better, or whatever. And even with my own teachings, there are some people that, you know, um, never took my class again, or I never heard from again, or they, I had one girl that really wanted soft sud. She wanted soft sud mediumship. She wanted me to agree on everything that she gave me when she was practicing. And I said, no, 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 no. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. Or a suggestion would be do not, maybe some of the exercises that you do out of class would be A, B, C, D, E. And then she emailed me and said, I don't need the X, Y, and Z and the other person tough love
Yeah.
mentorship class. I already took that and it didn't work for me. And this is
Yeah.
not working. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But one thing I wanted to say also was that I do have a page, the mediumship demonstration page by Kim Griffin. And those are my demonstrations that I do for free. And I do them like once a week, once every 2 weeks or whatever.
Okay, and I will have all of those live links at the
Oh,
bottom of this video and on the podcast, so you guys can click on, go join her groups, follow her on Facebook, sign up with Kim, like on her website, because just email her and connect with her, ask her any questions you may have within your mediumship. And I just want to say thank you so much, Kim, for spending this time with us. It's been so much fun.
good. I'm glad. Thank you, Marie.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.